Guys, what is going on? Welcome back to another Best Bet Trades video. Wanted to go over today, kind of over my scalping. Obviously, you can see here towards the end of the day. It's actually not the end of the day. It's 1:14, so we're about a little more than halfway through the day. But I stayed away from this morning because remember, you always have to be aware of the news. Typically on a news day, especially a day like today with CPI data, you're gonna have crazy volatility taking place in the morning. And we did get the volatility, but we had kind of a ride the 9 day up. And we came up, and I actually deleted those lines since, but we had a bunch of liquidity levels here that we took out. And obviously now we pulled back since, and I'll show you the stop loss grab that I put in here and why I picked that stop loss grab. Pretty predictable when you have a turnaround here. You take in account the fair value gaps that you have, and you take in account the areas where there could be potential stop loss grabs, and it pretty much works every time. Looking at the news today, had a ton of news this morning. Obviously, we had the inflation rate and these big red symbols, guys. You guys can go here, tradingeconomics.com, the calendar. It'll show you all the news every day before you trade. You can see this stuff in advance. You should always be aware of the news because me personally, I do not trade the news because that's gambling, right? Obviously, we know that the market's rigged and it's going to do whatever it can to clap the most traders. So, experienced traders and people who don't want to blow their account are going to stay away from the news. So, from 8:30 to 10 a.m., we had a ton of news today, right? And then obviously we have a little bit of new, not really news, but market movers, depending on what they say. You got to be really careful on these Fed speaks when these Feds are speaking, because you can have, all they have to do is say one thing, a little hawkish or a little dovish, and that's going to move the market like crazy. So, when you have Fed speaking like this at 1 p.m., it's kind of a good idea to take a step back, or at least just size in a lot lighter if you're going to play a trade. But looking at what happened this morning, we had CPI data this morning at 8:30. Huge candle up, which actually created a fair value gap, and we'll look at that at the bigger time frame here in a minute. But grinded up, and like I said, took out a bunch of liquidity levels. We'll see that in a minute too when we get to a higher time frame. Created a new buy side liquidity, so this is going to be a level that I look to be taken out. This is going to be an area where people that go in short, this is going to be their stop loss. This is where longs got stopped out. When it dipped down, there's a lot of liquidity sitting up here now, guys. So this is going to be a level. This is basically free money sitting in the market for these, for the market to go grab. So many fair value gaps, and all these arrows you guys see that are here is all my scalps, right? So, that's where we're at. The arrows just signify, how many ticks it went. So, that's where we're at right there. We're going to go to a higher time frame. We'll start on the 15 minutes. So, again, looking at what happened here, came up, came back down, filled this fair value gap here. It's actually not completely filled. This is a buy side imbalance. It would have to go all the way to to the top of this wick here on the left, right, to be filled. It didn't quite make it down there yet. It came about halfway down, so that's still not filled yet. That eventually the market's going to come down there and eliminate that deficiency. It's going to allow people to load up long down there back at that discount again. It's going to eliminate this imbalance that's taking place right now, right? So going over to the 30-minute, okay, kind of shows you a little better what happened here. So we're going to zoom out here, okay? So areas of liquidity that areas of liquidity that I was looking at. So I have all these lines down here that you see are sell side liquidity that hasn't been grabbed yet, and then you have the new week opening gap down here, new day opening gap. Those are huge amounts of those are huge levels, right? What we see here, well, it's pretty simple. Came up, grabbed this liquidity, came up, grabbed this liquidity. Guys, liquidity is where people's stop losses would be at, right? This is where it turned around and people got stopped out of their position. So this is where longs, and then it dropped and then they sold. There's just a bunch of liquidity sitting at these levels here. You can see them everywhere, okay? And it grabbed all that today. So I'm going to go back to a smaller time frame here and show you why when this thing came down I expected it to bounce. You can see this line that I put here, and I put this line here when it was way up here. You can see this wick. So what happened here, you had this big candle and then a pullback, that bottom wick, and then it rode the 9 up. What are people going to do right there? People are going to go, okay, if it drops below there, this is my stop loss. I'm going to ride this thing long, and this is going to be my stop loss right here. If it drops below this wick, we're out. And look at what the market does, guys. It's just unbelievable. And a lot of people would ask, well, why wouldn't people sell? You know, who's going to hold that long? You'd be surprised, guys, on how many people hold that long. Big players, and people that are just want as much as they can get out of it. They're gonna make this their stop loss, ride it up. This was actually a stop loss wick here too. See these two wicks, how they came down level. This actually came down level with the one on the left. If it would have dropped below it, it would have already grabbed these stop losses here, but it came down level with it. So this was an area that I had my eyes on for a potential reversal. And what we see here, we came down, touched it, this candle bounced up off of that level, right? But ended up having enough selling pressure to get back down. The market wanted to take us back down to this wick here, did exactly that, broke below that, grabbed that free liquidity there, right? It's going to clap these longs up here. We're not going to let you keep going up. So we're going to take it down, stop you out, and now look what it's going to do. It's going to come back up. It doesn't want these people, though, to be able to hold long, right, and keep riding this out. So what do? They drive it down. They stop you out. They stop you out. And then they grab that liquidity there from stopping you out. And then they take their next leg up. And they're, at that moment, they're loading up at a discount, right? So that's where we're at with that. A lot of volatility, that could potentially occur today, especially with the Fed speaking right now. They have a good tendency of moving the market around. So, and then looking at SPY, obviously, SPY doesn't trade at nighttime like NQ or ES does, right? So we have this huge gap, which, remember, gaps get filled, guys. So eventually, price action is going to come back down here and grab this area. And I have a lot of, liquidity here, right? Liquidity here. Liquidity here. Here, all these wicks down, there's liquidity sitting there. So there's a lot of downside liquidity potential on SPY and on ES and on NQ. They're all going to move relatively the same, right? So that's where we're at with that. So again, just wanted to kind of point that out. I've been scalping like crazy today off of price action because we had news this morning, we didn't have the liquidity sweep and, the easy moves like that. It was kind of just a scalping day for me. But again, I waited till, 11 o'clock till after all the news was done to start trading. So that's the video, guys. Just wanted to come in and fill you guys in on the situation. But a lot of liquidity below, guys. We are in very uncharted territories up here right now, especially at SPY. I mean, we're at 1 year highs. So, I expect downside, right, before more upside. So, obviously we could come back up here and grab this liquidity before heading, down, right? But, all this liquidity up here, there's a lot of liquidity up here. So that's the video, guys. I hope it helps. And today was about a $500 day for me. Nothing crazy. All these little scalps, just scalping 30, 40 bucks, small scalps. But, on a news day, I'm comfortable with smaller scalps. I'd rather have small scalps instead of going in too heavy and getting clapped. So that's the video, guys. I hope everyone has a great day, and I will see you on the next one.